with Mayo forever. France! That is the word! France!
Zeus, your son has returned!
Hello, I'm Swyrls. I play Neeko a lot, like a lot. And if you've clicked on this video, then you're probably interested in playing Neeko yourself, you know? And I thought I'd be making a video so I can teach more people how to play her, as in know what items to build in what situation, and knowing what runes to select into which champions. What I'll be covering in this video is mostly the runes and the items, and what you should look for when you're in the middle of the game. If you're looking for more playstyle tips, as in tips and tricks that you can do on Neeko mid-game to trick your enemies, or just grant yourself like an advantage mid-game, like to hit sick ults, that'll be covered in the next video I'm going to make, which will cover more in-game stuff rather than items, runes, and stuff. I'm gonna have timestamps in the video so you guys can just skip through to whatever you want to see, whatever you need, so the video isn't like 20 minutes long. It's just me yapping half of the time. Let's get started, shall we? In terms of runes for Neeko, usually Comet is the safest one you can pick. It's the safest one, and along with Comet you'll probably be running something like this or something like this. These are both good. Although, some people might look at Axiom Arcus and be like, well, Neeko's cooldown on the ult can be reduced and that's really good, and it can increase the damage. But as good as this sounds, mana flow just seems very important in lane to give up. And then here, I think like all of them work, but I really like the ability haste because Neeko's cooldowns are way too fucking high. And here, I usually like to run Scorch because I like to think of Neeko as an early game champion as opposed to a late game one, but I've had success with this one too. They're both really good. And if you're like a roaming goblin, you can probably get away with having water walking too, so this one is only up to you and how you play. But this is what I recommend. And then on the second page, usually I run something like this because, well, Biscuit Delivery gives you 90 HP, which is really good, but on the other hand, you also get this one, which makes it so on level 6, you get a bunch of AP with a potion, which gives you a free kill or like a lot of damage boost. And on level 9, you can get an extra point into your E, which makes you even stronger because your Qs and E's level up are pretty fucking strong. So that's also something I like to do. But you can run triple tonic, you can run deliveries, you can get... I really don't recommend boots. You can get Hex Flash. Hex Flash is also somewhat weird, but like whatever. But this is usually what I recommend. Just always something from these like 6. And then Cosmic Insight, because Cosmic Insight is just like, it's just too important to like let go. 18 Summoner Spell Haste is so fucking OP because Flash is like your biggest tool on Neeko. And then finally here, you have Adaptive Force, you have Attack Speed, you have Ability Haste. They all work well. I personally like to do Attack Speed because Attack Speed is really good with Neeko because you get to weave your auto attacks and get your W auto attack like up over and over again, which is really important. Especially since you have so much downtime between your abilities. And then just as per usual, Adaptive Force and then Health. Some people can do health scaling or just health like straight up. Depends on who you're playing into. If you like having more health at the start, that's good. And then this is what I like to do when my matchup doesn't require me be safe. If I am not forced to be safe, I'll probably go Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Grizzly Mementos, and then Ultimate Hunter. And then on the second page, I would just go Mana Flow and Scorch. Yes, I am sacrificing Cosmic Insight, but Electrocute is just way more fun. Like, if you want to have fun on Neeko, just go Electrocute. That is the most fun you can have on her. Easily. The Dark Harvest can kind of work, but it's not as fun as Electrocute. And then, as for the runes, you can take Cheap Shot or Sudden Impact. I personally like Sudden Impact more because you just W and then auto attack, or W then Q, and then you grant you like 20 bonus true damage, which is really fucking strong. I think Taste of Blood is kind of bait, because what do you mean 16 health? Like, that's nothing. Maybe it's not nothing, but I don't know. On a 20-second cooldown, it doesn't seem that helpful. And then Cheap Shot's like okay, but it's like, it just seems like a slightly weaker Sudden Impact, because Sudden Impact is 10 seconds and Neeko's E is like on a fucking 12-second cooldown anyway. So like, if I'm gonna do Cheap Shot, what am I gonna get out of it? Nothing. This just seems way better. You just W and then go do your thing. And then Ultimate Hunter is just no explanation needed. It's just the go. Like, it's just the go. And then as per usual, here you go Mana Flow Scorch or Mana Flow Transcendence. Actually, why have I not thought of Transcendence before? Yeah, this is good, and so is this. Like, these two are both really good angles for Neeko here. And then same thing here. And then just for some super secret Neeko tech, you can probably do something like this. You can go First Strike, you can go Cashback, Triple Tonic, Cosmic Insight, and then the usual for here, which is this one, or something like this. Like this all plays really well. This is really good into champions that cannot poke you before you poke them. I find this really fun into champions like Galio because you get to farm a lot of money off of them, and then you can actually like get real good use out of it in the mid game when you ult because you get a bunch of bonus damage. But it's not that much of a difference, and I still think Electrocute and Comet are better. Like this is just like some super secret technology that you should do once in a blue moon. Now for items. I will go over what you should build on Neeko when you are even, when you are ahead, when you are in special cases, and I will explain why. So if you're playing into the majority of your matchups, you're going to be building Rocket Belt first item, Storm Surge second, Shadow Flame third. This is one of the highest damage formulas you can do with Neeko, and it'll do a lot of damage. And if the game goes long enough, you either go you either go Death Cap, or you just go Crypt Bloom if you're not that rich. Boots, obviously you're gonna go Sorks. If you're like super fed, I recommend you just rush your Rocket Belt as per usual, but then skip the Storm Surge and then jump immediately into Shadow Flame. And then third item, just get Death Cap so you can have like 1 billion damage, and then you can nuke the enemies. That would be really good. And then if you want to have even more damage, Void Staff will be your best friend. But then if you're behind, this is where things get a little tricky. Neeko can still be very useful even from behind because you have your stun with your ult and you have your E, the root. These are both really good options, and if you are behind, you get to use your Rocket Belt still because it's one of the cheapest and best value items in the game. It makes it so it's easier for you to close the gap with your ult. You can stun people, but you're very squishy, so boom, this is where Zhonya's comes in. You get the stopwatch, and then you get to buy yourself like a few more seconds for your cooldowns to come back up, for your allies to come back in and like finish the job, try and save you, try and kill the enemies, finish off whatever is supposed to be done. And then you can buy Crypt Bloom. It's a really good item that heals you and your allies, and it does a really good job at doing that. And it also grants you some damage, so you're not going to be completely useless. It's kind of weird. You would rather never play from behind. And then I forgot to mention that Ionian Boots of the City is going to be a better boots option if you're from behind, because your cooldowns get lower and you're not even going to do damage to begin with. So you'd rather just be stunning the enemies with your ult, your E, and having like even more summoner spell haste, which is really good. And now let's go over to these situational items, and I will leave Nashor's for the end, and I'll talk over everything. So when you're going your main build, like this is just pure damage. This is where you just start to like sprinkle whatever you need. If like, okay, main build, you don't even need the Crypt Bloom. This is just the most important three. You can maybe even like get rid of this one. Go Zhonya's. This is a nice build. This is okay. Sometimes you can even do this, and then this, and that's fine. Or you can do the same thing, but like this, also fine. However, it's situational based on if they have AD on the enemy team or not, because if they have a lot of AD, you could even get away with rushing Zhonya's first item. Malignance is a weird one because I never build it, but some people do, and it's really good if you like to have your ult a lot. So if you just like permafight, Malignance is good. Banshee's Veil is really good if you want to have AP and magic resist. This is where I'm going to come up with the second item that is very special and I really like it. Now, if you want magic resist and you have AP on your team and they have AP on their team, Abyssal Mask is a really, really good item because you get to buff yourself, you get magic resist, you buff yourself with the damage that you do, like the 12% more magic damage. And then you buff your allies, nearby enemy champions take 12% more magic damage, so you're also buffing your allies, and it's just overall really, really a good item and really good stats. But in the case where none of these actually like fit, like you don't have all the three conditions, just opt for Banshee's Veil. It's way easier to think about, it's just better, I guess, in stats and utility. Luden's Companion. This is one of those items that is good, but not as good as Storm Surge, for instance. Now, when you're playing into champions that have an insane wave clear, you go Luden's first item. You go Luden's first item, Rocket Belt second, and then Shadow Flame third. It'll look something like this. You are replacing your Storm Surge for Luden's Companion, and then you just continue the build as per usual with Shadow Flame. There we go. Oops. Yeah, it's gonna look something like this. This helps your wave clear. This is your usual item, and then just like more damage. and it's almost as good as Storm Surge, but it grants you wave clear rather than more burst. But it's still a really good item, but I'd still only opt into it into certain matchups, such as champions that just push waves into you and you cannot really react, so like you would rather be able to react into it. Some champions like, I don't know, Zoe for instance. Morello is just the obvious. If they have a lot of healing, you just go Oblivion Orb and then finish Morello like finally, like at the end, because you're a very good champion that can apply anti-heal on enemies in very critical moments, such as when you're ulting, just randomly hitting someone with your EQ. That means just like, they're just like fucked, they're just gonna like take all the damage, which makes Neeko one of the best like Oblivion Orb users in the game. Swyrls is another item that's like kind of optional because it's really good stats. Like it gives you move speed, ability haste, and ability power, which is all good stats Neeko makes good utility out of. And then it gives you a really good active, which is inspiring speech, and it gives you like move speed, which makes it good if you're very broke, because it's 2,200 gold. So you just buy the item and like pray to God that you can make do with whatever you have, because this is really good as like a replacement for Rocket Belt, which let's pray you never have to fucking replace Rocket Belt, which is 2,600, which is one of the cheaper items, for an even cheaper item, which is Shrella's Battle Song. But it is really good if you're ever in that situation. Leandris is just good if you want to burn the tanks on the enemy team and you have no other AP sources on your team. Like if there's no other AP sources on the team, just go Leandris and you'll probably do your team kind of a little bit of a service. Frozen Heart is good overall because you do run into the enemies a lot as Neeko with your ult, and it gives you good stats. So like if there's a lot of like attack damage on the enemy team, you get to run Frozen Heart and you'll be okay. And you won't be wasting too much because it's like still really good stats kind of. And now finally for Nashor's Tooth, this is a really good item, and I should have probably talked about it first, but I decided to talk about it last because I'm gonna segue into the next segment. Change of plans. I just realized I may have done something bad in the order of things. I will be talking about Nashor's Tooth at the end because that's kind of what I recorded and it's like really long, so you guys have probably noticed, but I've set up timestamps, so you should be able to just skip to the immediate end where everything is just smooth. If you don't want to listen to me yap about matchups, I made this tier list so I can make it easier for you to like discern what build to choose into which champions. I'll go each tier and explain each one and kind of how you should play into it, but then I'll also maybe add a few notes onto the champion themselves, because some champions require you to play a certain way to win the matchup. But if I have no further notes on the champion, then that means the champion is just pretty straightforward. However, if I don't talk about a specific matchup, you are more than welcome to ask me in the comments or go ask me directly on Twitch chat where I stream, like twitch.tv/Swyrls, and I'll be more than happy to either demonstrate live on stream how you're supposed to play into the matchup or just explain it. Anyways, let's go over the first one. We have the play safe / go Comet tier. I think in this tier in general, you're probably gonna have to play safe and go Comet, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then this one is the have fun / go Electrocute. This is the one where you get to play Electrocute, and the matchup is pretty safe for you to like go up and auto attack them so you can proc your Electrocute during the combo. Every champion in the go Electrocute tier can also fit into the play safe / go Comet tier if you don't feel comfortable playing the matchup. However, not every champion that you can play safe / go Comet can fit into Electrocute, but some of them can. If you feel confident dodging Vex's skill shots, Zoe's skill shots, you're more than welcome to try to go Electrocute. But if you're not, I just recommend go playing safe. Permaban champions that are just unfun to play into. So Mel is pretty fucking unfun. Diana's just unfun. Her kit is just like anti-Neeko somewhat. Like she just dives you and tanks. And then Heimer's just unfun. Super secret tech to win. I'll probably go over the technique, the super secret technology, the Middle Eastern Neeko god technology that you should run to win into Vladimir, Katarina, Fizz, GP, and Yasuo. Those champions all follow like sort of the same idea. And then dodge simulator is when the champions like this is just artillery mages. They're just so unfun for Neeko to face because they do a lot of damage and they just sit so far back that you cannot hit them with your combos. And then this is just the cursed tier where it's just like you are at the mercy of your enemy. I think Zed can kind of be one if your enemy isn't familiar with the matchup, but a good Zed will always find a way to punish you. Lucian is just unfun to play into. LeBlanc is the same as Zed. Aurelia just scales with how good your enemy is at Aurelia. Tristana is kind of the same thing as Lucian. I think with Akshan he's pretty weird because you never really want to get into auto attack range with him, so you just don't go Electrocute, you just stick the Comet, and you want to try and generally throw your W's at him when he's Eing so you can block him, like you can block his path, and then proceed from there. You either block him, run away, or block him, hit your combo, and then run away. You generally never want to get close. And Evie is weird because when I used to play into her, I would go Electrocute and I would just get my shit smacked, but when I swapped to Comet and just hit her with my EQs, she became one of the easiest matchups you can play as Neeko. She is the freest matchup ever, but you go Comet. You just hit her with your EQs. She's one of the most immobile champions of the game. She just gets hit with it, like the full combo. You just never go up and hit your auto attack, so she doesn't hit you back. You hit your EQs from a safe distance until she's like 1 HP where you can go and finish her off. You're probably going to proc her egg. She'll probably live. You don't have damage unless your jungler ganks you and then you can finish off her egg. Akali is very weird because I think it's a difficult matchup where it's kind of scales with the enemy's skill. Because she gets to grant herself move speed so she can dodge your skill shots, which is one bad thing for you. And two, she grants herself invisibility so she can be very unpredictable for you. So I still recommend playing safe. Jace is kind of weird because Jace is like an artillery mage once every 15 seconds with his EQ, but outside of that, you're pretty safe to like go EQ, maybe sometimes weave your auto attack in. You can get away with Electrocute, but I don't think it's the best thing. Zoe is weird because you can win the matchup from levels 1 to 5, but once she has her ult, you're kind of fucked. Because she's never going to be in range for you to hit your EQs, Rs, whatever the fuck. Lissandra, you can kind of run Electrocute, but I really don't recommend it. Again, I think you should go Comet into all of these, but if you really want to have fun, Lissandra is one of those that you can kind of maybe make Electrocute work. Trindamir is one of the unholy champions in the mid lane that once he's there, he's like... When he's meta and he plays mid, he's just gonna fuck you up and it's just not fun to play, so I still recommend Comet. In this tier, I think I put Ahri in this one because you can very easily block Ahri's charm, which prevents her from hitting you with her full combo with your W. If you hit her with your E, if you walk up to hit her with your E and she gets hit, she's probably gonna try and hit you back, so this is where you throw your W and try to block her E with your W, like the clone. And then from there you can safely hit your Q auto attack to finish the Electrocute combo. Brand is a weird one because you're never gonna see him mid, but if you do, he's pretty squishy, so if you can hit your Electrocute combo, you're pretty good, but he does a lot of damage, so it's just fucking annoying to lane into. It's just whoever can kill the other one first. Silas is weird because when a good Silas is against you, he's just gonna beat you up and you won't know what the fuck to do about it, so good luck. But you can go Electrocute into him, or you can just not run into him ever and go Comet. Actually, he's one of those that you should probably go Comet now that I think about it, but like, you can have fun, you can go Electrocute, trust me. Malzahar is a pretty awkward matchup. You just have to auto attack him once at the start so you can remove his shield and you can just hit him with your EQ auto combo and he's just like electrocuted and half his health bar is gone. Pretty squishy champion overall, so it's easy to like burst him 2-3 times and he's dead. Pantheon, I recommend that when you hit your E, to just wait a bit, like auto him like 1-2 times before he throws out his E, so you can then throw your Q and then like just run away, because that's probably going to proc Electrocute and then he's probably not going to be able to block your Q damage. The Q damage is the most important one. And then there's Galio here that I kind of recommend you could, well, Galio is one of those champions that you can go whatever you want into. You can go for strike, you can do whatever you want, and then see, this is the thing, like the only one I really know that you can go for strike into is Galio, but there's a lot of other champions that you can probably like do it, you can get away with doing it. Maybe Cho'Gath, if you ever fight that abomination, then you should be okay running for strike. And then yeah, that's about it. You can probably figure out other champions on your own, I don't know. And then into these three, if you do come up into Diana, I can recommend you go Comet and pray to God that she's bad. And then if you play into Mel, somehow you didn't ban her, that's your problem. I also recommend you go Comet. Same with Heimer, but it's just unfun. Like, it's just dodge the game, bro. Just dodge the game. Don't play into Heimer. And then into Dodge Simulator is just play safe but like finish full boots as soon as possible. You want to have boots. You can maybe even consider going Swifties into them. This is how bad it is. You just have to keep dodging. It's so fucking stupid. But whatever. Fuck it, we ball. And then here you kind of just have to pray. You're at the mercy of the enemy. So for the promised super secret Neeko tech, you just build Nashor's Tooth, either first or second item. I usually lean towards first item. It is really satisfying to play around. But I usually opt into it mostly into Vladimir, Katarina, Fizz, and then it's really helpful into GP and Yasuo. You're probably gonna have a way easier time laning into Vladimir, Katarina, and Fizz when you have Nashor's Tooth, because you get to auto attack them and trade with them, like kind of, well, not really evenly, but you will be able to bait out whatever escape ability they have, so then you can, you know, trade them with your abilities afterwards. Once they don't have their escape abilities up, they're very vulnerable to you. GP, however, Nashor's is good because it grants you the attack speed to deal with his barrels, and it turns into like kind of a fun mini game between you and GP where whoever breaks the barrels gets to like trade the other one easy. And then Yasuo is another matchup I recommend Nashor's Tooth into because, fun fact, your auto attacks, like the laser beam, it goes through Yasuo's wind wall, so he will never know. So you can just like auto 2 minions that are not in front of the wind wall and just like having your auto attack go through the wind wall, and that should just make everything easier for you. I think that's about it for the video. I think I covered pretty much everything you need to know in terms of runes, in terms of items, and matchups, and what to think into what matchup. I hope you guys got the answers that you were looking for, and if there's something I didn't cover that you guys would like to ask about, it is more than welcome for you to drop comments, or you can just like ask me the questions when I'm streaming live on twitch.tv/Swyrls. It would be really appreciated if you guys could drop a like or subscribe or both. You know, be pretty awesome. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.